Hey, welcome to Clarksville Vibe the Show. I am your host, Kevin Kennedy Jr., Clarksville native, small business owner here in town, pediatric dentist, just enjoying all things positive about Clarksville, seeing us make this transition from one generation to the next, about all the great things that are happening here and what makes this place the greatest place to live in America. You may have just found this for your first episode. We've got a great show planned for you today. Definitely go back, track with some of the older episodes that we've got either on the channels queue or on the podcast platform that you're engaging this on. Feel free to engage with us in any way. Leave us a review, a like, subscribe to it. That way, when we release new content, you're going to get it right away. I do want to intro our guest today, Brandon Ferguson, a friend of mine, someone that I've worked with professionally and I've known personally for a couple years now. It's funny when you're around Clarksville, you introduce yourself to Clarksville natives, and then you kind of retell your story of now how you've intersected as adults and small business owners and leaders in the community. He's got a great story to share. He's involved in lots of great things. He is involved with Castle Rock Mortgage, and so he is on the front lines of this housing industry right now as we're recording this in October of 2022. It's a fun time in that environment, but he also does things outside of that business with Clarksville Business Allies and local nonprofits and supporting organizations that are making our community better in lots of different ways. So I'm excited to hear from him and allow him to tell his story to provide this content for you today. Brandon, man, thanks for coming.
No, hey, listen, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I've been following the show since you started it. I think I've texted you almost every week to be like, oh, I love this guest speaker about this. And you've had some great individuals on here. So like you said, if they haven't listened to it yet, definitely go back and listen to some of the other episodes.
It's been very fun. People that I know, some people I've known for decades, some people that I've met when they walked up to this set. And it's funny because when you really start to ask people more about themselves, generally speaking, everyone's favorite topic to talk about is themselves.
Sure.
So my job is really easy with this. But you still learn great things. You still learn new things all the time. So you're a Clarksville native. I don't know that I knew that for the longest time. But yeah, tell me a little bit about your family. So you're in a family business that has been, multi-generational now at this point. Lots of people from your family involved. We had Chase Knott, who is also a part of a family business, a couple episodes ago. And it's great in a town like Clarksville where family businesses are still continuing and thriving, and they've provided, resources and stability for the older generations, and now the younger generations get to be a part of that. So I'm curious to hear your story and kind of, what are you doing day to day?
Yeah, so it's been interesting. And something truthfully I probably took for granted in the beginning. Sure. Growing up in the mortgage business, just being around it. The mortgage business is not something you just fall into. You're either a teller at a bank and the loan officer left, so now they got an opening, or you had somebody that was in the business and that way it's got you in. So my dad had somebody that got him into the business years ago. He left a really good career with H.H. Gregg at that time, which is no longer here now, so this worked out. And he started out in Brentwood with the company, him and my mom actually. And so they started out there. They were driving 7 years to Brentwood, living in Clarksville. And then from there, they brought a company and managed it, and then opened Castle Rock Mortgage in 2004. Yeah. And so I have
Did they open Castle Rock here in Clarksville?
In town,
wow.
Here in Clarksville. It's our own company, not a branch of anything. And so in our business, especially after the 2008 crash and things like that, a lot of companies that were like ours sold off and became branches. And so it's cool to have a little bit of pride to say, hey, we fought through, we survived that market, and now we can utilize those kind of knowledge and resources and go, okay, here's how we take care of our clients as they are concerned about those things, even though this is a whole nother housing world than 08, and especially in Clarksville as well, too. So I've been in a loan officer for 15 years since high school, basically. Wow. It was real interesting in the beginning, being 18, 19-year-old, giving advice to 50-year-olds sitting across from me on their third house going, why should I refinance? Why does this make sense? And so, I had to grow up quick, and it was really good. And now it's something that I really appreciate and really enjoy, helping put families in their first home and guide them through this overwhelming process at times.
Yeah. So what's the education process like? I don't know that I've ever really thought about that.
To become a loan officer?
That? Yeah.
So similar like a realtor, you got to have a set amount of pre-hours. So for us, it's actually it's a little less. It's 20 hours.
Okay.
You got to do your pre-licensing. You go take a test. Once you pass that, you just got 8 hours a year. You got to keep up with it.
Yeah.
So it's not too taxing. It's tricky,
Yeah.
but it's not too taxing. Not anything close to what you went through for dental school.
But what's funny
yeah.
is it's so important because you're affecting a generation's ability to transfer what is probably the single biggest asset that they'll invest in.
Oh,
it's super important.
It's massive. And I mean, you've seen families that bought houses 2 years ago that are selling them today, and they're making 3 times their annual income in a 2-year window. And now they're like, what do I do with that money next?
Right.
Do I pay off debt? Do I apply this to the house? One of the things I do love to share is like, you don't have to roll it all into the next mortgage. You could clear off all your other debt and just have a mortgage payment. People just don't think about that because they're so laser focused on what they're going to do next with that money. That's where I enjoy my job. Is to like, here, let's look outside perspective, and then you decide what's best for your family.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, my dad's a local business owner. He's an attorney here in town, and I kind of made the decision not to go into the family business, right? That you made the different decision. When do you feel like you thought, hey, this is something that I might want to do? And how did that go with your parents of saying, hey, it seems like you've got a good thing going, and you're happy. What does it look like if I join your team? Did they approach you? How did that go?
Yeah. Well, and I'll be 100% honest. Running a small business is very taxing. Yeah. They sacrificed a lot to get the business up, to keep it going, especially through those tough years. And so, honestly, for me, I did not see a lot of life flexibility. I was not sure if I wanted to do this long term. About 6-7 years ago, we really found a great game plan. And I know we're going to talk about mentors and stuff down the road, but we surrounded ourselves with people that had figured out how to take a self-employed business that usually runs your whole life and just turn it into a more business style where you can actually have a little bit of leverage, have a little bit of family time balance, which is the hardest thing to maintain, and still be able to enjoy life and be able to enjoy why you work so hard. Right. So once we figured that out, that's where I really was like, okay, I do want to do this for another 30 years. Yeah. So I honestly, in the beginning, I was not sure if this is what I wanted to do, but we've made some adjustments, and that's what I give my parents a lot of credit for. They have adjusted a lot along the way. And
everyone
pivots.
Continued.
You got to pivot.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been in business, 18 years as a company. I mean, you're not going to be in business 18 years if you're not pivoting and making adjustments.
No, I was talking to a guy, and I've shared this example before. We had somebody here at my house doing, flooring for us. And, he made the comment, he's like, buddy, I can't afford to not treat you the best. And exactly. Honestly, it's like you're in that same industry where when your parents started this business, it's such a small niche kind of business, even though it has wide-ranging effects. The minute you're not on your A game, you lose a referral source, you lose a trusted relationship that's going to keep that kind of stream of business coming in. Exactly. And if you're not always treating people with the highest level of care and attention, then you don't get to say, hey, we're, Castle Rock that's now been going for 18 years. You're Castle Rock that did not go for 18 years, right?
No, 100%. And we don't pay for advertising. We don't know that. So it's all word of mouth. So, as my brother and I have come up in the business now, and we are working more to continue just to build that reputation. I mean, we have a solid one. They've done things the right way, and we get to expand that. But we're strictly word of mouth. So, a lot of people haven't heard of us, and it's because we don't pay for a bunch of advertising. Right. But those relationships we do have, that's the way we love to do business. Is relationship-based business. So,
yeah. I mean, I said I've worked with you professionally, and it was a very smooth process. I feel like one of the gifts you gave us, and I'm sure you do it to all your clients, is also education, which to me is fascinating because as a dentist, there's this opportunity of, hey, you provide a service, that's what people pay for, right? And education is not always something that people are directly paying for. It's just it's an add-on, right? I mean, you look at it and you say, I really want the best for you overall, so I'm going to kind of take a step further. I'm not getting paid to educate you directly, but because I care for you and because I care about my reputation here, or I care about being able to withstand another 38 years of business here in town, I'm going to go one step further than maybe what somebody else is doing who's just running transactions through right across the desk. Yeah.
I mean, being a transactional individual, and there are plenty of big corporations, especially in my business as well, that that's, you feel like a number,
Yeah.
right? And nobody wants to feel like just another number. And I just don't enjoy the business that way either, to be honest. So getting to connect with clients, getting to connect with y'all and help, and just give that, like we said, outside picture, just because I do deal with finances all day long.
Yeah.
We don't have enough financial education in schools and things like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of clients, especially, we have a pretty young community overall, right? And so this is their first house. This is the first time they made that big decision. They've only maybe bought a car and dealt with a cosigner on a car, and they don't understand how that translates to the mortgage industry and buying a house. And so I enjoy that part of the process.
Yeah.
And it surprisingly doesn't take as long as one would think to
Yeah,
educate on that level. It's usually the same 15-minute conversation, but I just apparently go a little more in depth than
Well, I'm sure
others
people
that
appreciate it.
that clients have dealt with. So
Yeah,
it's,
that's awesome.
It's fun and rewarding.
Yeah. Well, I do want to ask, when you're growing up in the family business, you're not influenced by just your parents. In this town, you're relying on people who can kind of speak into your situation. You learn a lot from a lot of different people. So I'm curious, who are some of the people along your journey that you can look back and say, man, that was a powerful statement that they made to me, or this was, a conversation that I remember with this individual that helped kind of change my mindset and how I look at things and has really impacted me in a real way.
Yeah, I think it's just evolved so much over the years. It's interesting. You always seem to have people come into your life as you need it at certain times as well, right? So I have resources that I learned from coaching programs in my profession that are based not locally, but people that have blueprints that now we're connected and can pass ideas and figure out how do we guide our clients best throughout this market nationwide, because as much as Clarksville's dealing with certain things and certain houses, we're usually a year or so behind of what maybe, say, a California or an Arizona's dealing with. So that gives me a little heads up of what could be coming our way. But then, you do have the locals. So like Mike and Stephanie Burnett, they've been a huge influence in our life. And we've had just so many people that have been around us that growing up over the years that now I look back on and I go, wow, those things. I had a wrestling coach at Clarksville High, Coach Durden, that I still think about life lessons from being in that sport.
I did not know you wrestled.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
You stumble across it. I stumbled across it in high school.
So what year did you graduate?
03.
Okay,
Or no, sorry, graduated.
I was going to say, that was my year. Okay,
Yeah.
graduated 07.
Yeah.
Well,
About
we
4
had
years off.
Dylan Jennings, who did an episode with us.
Yeah.
Who it was mainly about Banking Festival, but we got to talk a little bit of Clarksville wrestling.
Yeah.
And I told him Dylan Jennings was the reason that I never tried wrestling, because we're the same age, we're about the same bill. I was like, I might have to wrestle him, and that sounds like a really bad plan for my health. So, but
dude.
if you're around that age, like you probably were,
probably came in
right
right as he was
behind
coming
him,
out.
right as he was coming out. But Jeff Jordan, what a coach! I mean, wrestling phenomenon. And then transitioned that into soccer and has won state championships there. And we talked about that a little bit on that episode. But yeah, that's Clarksville High Wrestling has got a steep tradition.
It does, and it was very great to be a part of. And I got to help a little bit after I left graduated. And that was one of the big things I got out of it. Is a lot of guys came back and helped train up the younger guys, and you got to learn a lot of lessons that they got to pass along. And so one of the biggest things I got out of that, though, is you don't ask anything of your team members or the people you coach or your employees that you're not willing to do yourself.
Yeah.
Jordan was a very hands-on type of individual, which is how my parents are too, very hands-on on the business. And they don't just ask you to do something they don't want to do. Like, they're going to grind it out with you. And I think that's crucial. And I think, my team needs to know that from me, that like when a tough situation comes up, I'm going to be right there with them.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to go, you go deal with it because I don't want to deal with it
I'm out
anymore.
of here.
That just doesn't work. And so that's some of the big lessons I got out of those kind of scenarios.
That's awesome. That's really good to hear. Well, you're in your early 30s. I mean, I'm kind of late 30s, and we were chatting. This is kind of the first, kind of what is going on in the world moment that we've had as adults, with kids at home, with businesses on the line, with employees on payroll, and kind of all of these things. And you're on the front lines of it because you're in an industry that kind of sets the tone for lots of things, and what the Fed does to try to speed things up or slow things down. You're one of the first people affected. So I'm curious, for those of us in our age, you've got this great set of wisdom from your parents who survived 08, and they probably experienced some other things before that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But what would you say to us now? What do you see that you feel like is important for us to know, or just on a high level?
Yeah. I'm with you. I track a monthly budget.
Yeah.
I see my grocery bills up $500,
Right.
every month. And yeah, we all felt it at the pump together.
Yeah.
I drive a Tundra. Like, it was not friendly
Sure.
to me
Right.
either. So, I think what I am hearing and what I can pass along as of October 2022,
Right, yeah.
and hopefully it sticks. As far as the housing industry goes, this is an opportunity to get in, even though rates are higher, and be able to not compete against as many buyers.
Sure.
So you have an opportunity, like 6 months ago, you're spending 30, 40 grand above asking, it felt like, on almost every deal. And, there was a lot going on. But as far as strength in our market and things like that, I feel really good about it because you have more well-qualified borrowers. In 2010, Clarksville was one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S. So because of the military, which we have a huge love for, and I love that our community has such a love for our military.
Yeah.
Both my granddads were military. So that's what brought us to Clarksville originally.
Really?
Yep.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
what brought us to Clarksville originally. So it's cool to be in a community like that, but that military support and having the base here is what keeps our turnover good and keeps things going. And so having things like that keeps the market strong. But now there's so much new industry coming into town and all these new companies and these higher paying jobs coming into the area. That's only going to help build some stability. So getting a house now is great. You may have a higher rate for a little bit, but they're talking about by second, third quarter next year, they want to see the rates back in the fours. This is Fannie Mae. This is the government. They suppressed the rates a few years ago. So to see those press back down would be fantastic. You get an opportunity to buy now where you're not competing, because when that comes around, more buyers are going to come out of the woodworks again,
right. Yeah.
and then you're going to compete again. So it's going to be real interesting to see. That holds as true as of today.
Yeah.
We as a country got to get more inflation under control. That is obviously the biggest issue with interest rates right now, causing them to go up. But no, we're all feeling it across the board. So relief hopefully to come. The housing market was supposed to be kind of the first one to hit recession, let's say loosely, in with their rates jumping the highest, and hopefully we'll be the first one out, and that means other things will trend more favorably for all of us in the right direction as well too.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, we talked about your kind of joy and passion for educating, and you're talking off the cuff right here. This one, we didn't plan anything.
No, this is not scripted. Yeah.
So what's so funny about this is, like, I guess if I started talking about teeth, like, hey man, I got it right. And then, like, this is just your deal,
It's just my deal.
And
I try to make it make sense. So
yeah,
we don't
but
feel like we're talking
it's
over.
like as you start to grow up, and I guess we shouldn't say start to grow up in our 30s, but it's like all of a sudden now you're just like you're hitting these really big decisions of like, okay, we're talking big stuff here that we don't understand, and having someone that looks at it from the outside perspective that has some skin in the game here locally, I think is super helpful. I want to talk a little bit about Clarksville Business Allies. We talked about your small business that you do all day every day, but Clarksville Business Allies is a group that you're kind of in part of, that's just about connecting people outside of Castle Rock Mortgage. So how'd you get connected with them? How'd that start?
Yeah, so Carrie Lovato with Southbound Insurance actually started this like right before COVID really kicked in. It was a real interesting time to build a networking group when nobody wanted to come out and network.
Or we all probably wanted to. We just didn't know if we should. What's it going to be like if we are in this picture? Are we going to get blasted all over social media for showing up somewhere?
Yes, it was real interesting. It would flip between in-person and Zoom and things like that. And you've been part of networking before. It's a very tricky thing to build.
Yeah, it's super tricky.
And so I just enjoy connecting with other business owners. And so we've gotten a really good core foundation, and it is a lot of businesses that I think I asked the question the other day, who had been in business even over 5 years. And most of the group had not even been over 5 years. You've got people that represent larger companies, like we've got Adam who represents ServPro, and we've got Randy now, though, who's a business owner that has the Flippin' Axe on Wilma and has just like continue to build his position in that business and build it up and is passionate about that. And so getting to feed off other passions. We've got people that do all kinds of insurances and do 3D printing and just businesses I didn't even think about that are now coming into Clarksville, that a lot of them were former military. And now they have a passion outside of service. And it's really cool to see. And we do that every Tuesday morning at 8:30 at the Flippin' Axe. So any business owner is welcome to come out and network and be a part of that. But
one common denominator, I'm sure, is just hunger. Hunger to grow something, hunger to improve something. When you have what we would say is a younger business, maybe not younger business owners, but a newer business, everyone's just kind of in that growth phase of, and people that naturally attend networking events, that's what they want to do. But I think where you add value is it's kind of during the business day. Sometimes networking events are only after hours, which is convenient for some people, but for some of us with families and soccer practice and, dance and things that you got to get to, and you're barely making dinner, like those are tough to get to on a regular basis. So doing that during the business day, it just provides another opportunities. For some people, it works out great. For some people, it doesn't. And that, you can't serve everybody, but it's, got to find your fit. But I love that it's going on. You guys have incorporated some nonprofit, fundraising into that. And it's just a great way for people to find their footing. If you start a brand new business in town, you don't know anybody, you don't know all the things that you need to know on the back end of where do I buy my insurance, who do I get to check my fire extinguishers, those things pop up. And if you don't know anybody else who's having to make those decisions and make the connections, it's really kind of overwhelming.
Oh, it's a lot. I mean, building business credit and things like that, it can be a lot. And no, you're right. I mean, I've got 3 little ones at the house, a wife that supports me, but also works at times as well too. And there's just so much going on, and we really try to keep a firm schedule, because if it's not that, then we've got jiu-jitsu or t-ball or so, like there's always something that's adding up.
Very important things, but they keep you moving in different directions. Well, I know when you are a business owner, I know I've talked to you enough to know that you're constantly looking to learn and grow, and you do that through books or through podcasts or whatever. You mentioned, as we were prepping for the episode, you also kind of into health and fitness, some running, things like that. So tell me a little bit about, like you mentioned the Ragnar race, right? That's kind of a unique thing. I have no idea what it is other than it's like a relay. I've heard relay. And so I'm curious as though how that connects to what you feel like you're able to do, with your occupation as well. Because when I look at, I attend fitness classes for this reason. I mean, honestly, a lot of it is connected, not to just how I feel or what I enjoy, but it is like, I know that I need to be capable of providing this service for a long period of time. So I'm curious as to like, what are you involved in, like fitness wise and stuff like that? And what do you enjoy?
Yeah. And I would say too, I mean, in reality, the better shape you're in, the harder you can run in your business and take care of clients, and the mental clarity that comes along with it, when I'm good about working out versus when I'm not good about working out and things like that. Right now, I pretty much just do stuff around the house. But on the Ragnar in particular, Jamie, a realtor I work with, called me out of the blue. She said, I got a random question for you. And I was like, I thought it was some scenario off the wall, trying to figure out how to qualify somebody. And she's like, do you want to run the Ragnar? And I knew they were doing it. But they had been training for 8-9 months for it. So I'll give the overlay in a second. It was like 30 or so days out, and I did not run at all. Like, I'm not a runner by nature. I might run a mile with a workout or something, but what it was, what we ended up accomplishing was it's a 12-person team. And you take turns running through different amounts of volume each time. And what it was we went actually to the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky where this one was. So, truth be told, got in a little trouble with the wife because I thought I've only done like Spartans and Mutters in Nashville one day. I thought this was a 1 day within an hour. It ended up almost being like a 2.5 day, 3 hours away.
Which is different when you have 3 kids.
I got a lot of grace and some make it up to do when I got back. But
what do you mean you're not going to be home tonight?
Yeah. So it was funny how it was at the time, not as funny, but now it's funny looking back on it.
I have to ask, at what point did you realize this was not a 1-day thing? Like when you got there?
It was almost like the week of, as I was relaying it there. But so it was poor job, pour husband.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
Listen,
we can only laugh.
Mistakes. It's the only reason I know what I know now is because I made enough mistakes. So it was 36 hours. We basically rotated vans on who ran at a time. I think I slept a total of like 30 minutes, and that I don't sleep well traveling in cars, anything. Wow. So all of 30 minutes, I did 3 legs of about 5 miles each. But it was, the team did better than we anticipated. There's a lot of hills out in Bourbon Country. I don't know if you know, so it was very interesting. But yeah, it was quite the experience. So I went from like couch to basically 15 miles in like a 30-day window. And it was, I like those kind of pushing moments. Like we were talking about the books, you hear the David Goggins and you hear all these crazy stories. And I love to read books and stuff like that. They're just about firsthand accounts of pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. Because once you realize you can throw yourself in enough of those moments, like the random off the cuff questions and things like that, and you'll be fine at the end of the day, even if it's not perfect. Right. You know,
I can survive it.
I can survive it.
Right.
And it's good for us we have a very comfortable lifestyle mostly in this country. Right. And so, you know, to be there and to have things that push you in different ways is fantastic. And to be outside of work is nice too, to have that work push, but also have something that's going to test you mentally in another way or physically or whatever. So it gave me a reason to work out. So I started training a little more. So that was good. So I usually got to have a reason to do something. But yeah, it was interesting for sure.
That's funny. So one of those stories that's always just stuck in my brain is a guy named Louis Zamperini. So they made the movie that's called Unbroken. And so he was an Olympian, right, in the late 30s, kind of when Hitler hosted the Olympics there in Germany, and then gets kind of wrapped up into World War II. His plane is shot down. He's a prisoner of war in Japan for a significant number of years. They recognize that he was an Olympian, and he just endures all of this abuse, you know, and it was just the craziest story of American, like, ingenuity, determination, perseverance. They've got a movie now, so if you look into the movie, but yeah, I love those stories too, where you're like, okay, like, I can make it through this, you know, whatever is not that actually difficult in my life, you know, as a point of reference. Yeah.
In comparison, 100% agree. And then you get around people that are like-minded, that want to press themselves and things like that. And so then you're hearing about other stories. They were telling me about a book that these two guys are basically with just sleds going across Antarctica, and it's kind of a challenge with each other and things like that. And I'll have to text him. Maybe
so
you can
this
put it in the
Ragnar
notes,
race is actually not that hard.
This was very minor. I mean, I definitely it was a bigger deal for me than it would be for a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, listen, we had somebody that came on that the Saturday before had met. Now she was in a running club, but she came and ran the hardest, like 12-mile leg, like off because somebody else fell out. Like it was. There's so many wild stories, but when you get to bond over those moments, it's really cool. So doing different things, like we've done stuff with the team of going to Yay Packs and bringing everybody out, and just getting firsthand togetherness and hands-on, and not just it's nice to be able to donate and do things, but getting that first hand-on stuff is just how I was built as well too, and raised, and how my wife was raised and things like that.
Sure.
And she came from a very tough background, and she keeps me in line a lot. And so I love to have that around me. I you know, as a husband, you don't want to get, I will probably say this wrong and it'll cost me, but nagged about things or whatever. But to be able to look at it from an outside perspective, like looking back on it, be how grateful I have somebody that pushes me into the right direction and raises our kids in a way that I can feel good about, and all of that. That foundation is crucial as well too. So I'm very fortunate there as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, she's fantastic. I get to see her occasionally. I get to see her more than I get to see you. So
when the kids come in.
That's right. Yeah. Well, you mentioned, we asked people kind of what's one big message for what you want to share with people just on a broad platform, very casually. And you kind of just mentioned this idea of abundance mentality, right? So what does that mean to you, and where'd you first hear about that?
Oh, some books, some seminar, sometime between now and 2012, probably. I don't know the exact. I think that's developed over time. You know, you got to be a good steward with your finances, and you got to take care of things. But if you live in a scarcity mentality, then everything is going to seem bad. Everything's going to seem wrong. I mean, it is super tough right now, right? Like this is a hard time. Yeah. No matter how successful right now, you are feeling it.
I think this is a time people will read about in textbooks.
Yeah.
You know, the crash of this, you know, it's like, this post-COVID economy has been a real challenge.
Yeah, 100%. And so there's still a lot of adjusting going on, and still probably more to come. But if you're not living in the pure fear, it's interesting what you can find that can still create opportunities. And, you know, you can just feel good. Like we try to give generously, and we try to do things that, as long as our family obviously is protected at the same time, but making sure we are if we're blessed with something, we want to make sure we give back. Yeah. And we take care of those that have gone through harder times. You know, their life was way harder than a Ragnar that I ran a race on, right? Like what they deal with day in and day out. And so to be able to participate and to be able to give back to things that help battered women and children in super tough situations, or to be able to participate, like I said, with Yay Packs, which has done so much. And I don't know if she's been on here yet, or if you have her out here, but her story is incredible, and just the amount of people they reach is just insane, and how organized their warehouse is stunning.
And the fact that they have a warehouse.
And the fact that they have a warehouse is, they've only been 5 years, something like that, like a very short time to when you see it, you're like, oh, this has been around 20-30 years.
We got to walk through the warehouse a month or two ago, and it really does just blow your mind. You know, when you operate a small business, you think, oh yeah, I can, do everything I need to do in 1,200 square feet or 2,500 square feet or whatever it is. Well, out to this location, we'll blow this out. And then you think of warehouse space, like that's a whole different level of space. And it's one thing to have the space, and it's another thing to fill it with stuff that you do nothing but intend to give it away.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And you rotate it every 3 months. Like, it's insane to see. It is, It's insane in the process. But, what's cool is when you see those and what you come to appreciate as a business owner, you can't do those kind of things without some of that vision, but you got to have the leadership or the individuals underneath you that implement around you as well, too. And so, like, for us, we've got a very good group of people that work for us and are part of our team and love a low drama environment and love to come in and care about what they do. And if they make a mistake, like, they are beating themselves up. I could never get onto them enough as they beat themselves up. So we have passionate people that work for us that want to make a difference. Tabitha is my lead loan partner, and she cares about the files as much as I do. And that is hard to find in certain roles, in certain things. And so to have team members that are that strong side by side with you as you're running, especially a family business, it's really cool to see.
I tell people very upfront and often, my biggest strength is my team, and my biggest weakness is I am worth nothing without them.
No, 100%. It's real easy to get an ego at certain levels, but you got to look at that and go, there was no way I could have made it without
Zero
X
chance.
individuals in my life, for sure.
Yeah, who are doing their very best, tugging the boat with you. Well, I love that. Well, we're going to move into the lightning round. A couple random questions at the very end here. So I don't know this for a fact, but I think you're a gadget guy. Is there one like gadget or tech item that you're just like, man, like that, I love this thing?
So I would say the most utilized thing that I have gotten in within the last year is like you've got your iPad there, whatever, is these remarkable notepads.
Oh, they think I'm going to buy one because they put ads in front of me all the time.
Well, now it's going to go up 10 times because I said it around you. But I mean, it's a notepad. It's really cool. It's like the Remarkable 2 or something. Just go to the website and check it out. I obviously don't make anything off it.
Right.
But I will say I got one because I had seen somebody utilizing it, and I'm a big, like, take notes randomly kind of person. Yeah. So sticky notes everywhere. Go to a conference, you got this folder here, this folder there that you never really look back at. It is all organized in something for me now.
And you actually write on it.
And you write on it, and it keeps it all together. And I've got one. All the other loan officers ended up buying one. I bought my team member one. Like, I'm a big fan of them.
That's
they're
pretty
a little
cool.
pricey, but they're well worth the money because they deliver on what they're supposed to do.
That's cool. Do you have a favorite go-to dessert or treat that's in Clarksville?
Oh man, so many. We love Golly G's a lot with the kids. I mean, that's easy. I got my Dutch Pro coffee now, so I had heard about those. Super pumped that I guess they're here now. We have.
Listen, I got Dutch Brothers. Somebody on my team asked, can we get Dutch Brothers? And they had a really hard week. And so it was just a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. When is the question. And I swear it put them, they were like this. Like, they didn't have to, like, even turn on the thing to start cleaning teeth. Their hands were just shaking. And they were, like, cleaning teeth just like this. They're like, something is happening to us. Listen, what is this?
You got to have the stronger Black Rifle, Dutch Brother. I love the stronger coffees. Well, Hillaster's right over here as well, too. Like, you just got to have good places
you got to have it.
that you can treat yourself to. Yeah.
Well, I do know that you live in a house divided. This is October in SEC country. And so your wife, unfortunately, she's a Bulldog fan. You cheer for the Vols. She's got a lot to trash talk about right now, but I'm curious. You've been married a while, so who's the real trash talker between the two of you?
Oh, she is. We are equally competitive, and then my son is 3 times as much. We gave him all of it.
So what does he do? Like, who is he cheering for now?
My kids all are on the Georgia side.
Oh,
of the fence. She says she did not have them do this, but they all ask me if I will become Georgia fans like daily right now. Yeah. So
she's playing the fight song through the sound machine.
Yeah, basically. But no, it's really good. It's funny. Daniel, who's in our office, and I were in a group text, which he's a big Bulldogs fan as well too. So we're just going at it last night even. Which we play Alabama this week, and Georgia's not for another 2 weeks. But at our wedding, we did. People do all their little ritual things, the sand and all that. We took 2 like yard signs, a Georgia and Tennessee one, and put a House United thing, and that was what we held up as part of our wedding. So that was still a really cool memory to have, and we still obviously have it. But it's interesting. It's a lose-lose for me. If I win, I can't be too hyped about it, and If I lose, I lose. So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't
Which
know.
we're
But this
really used to.
year-
Yeah.
This year, I don't know. I'm feeling good.
Oh, don't do that to yourself. Oh,
I know.
gosh.
Tennessee finally got me hyped back up again, you know?
Oh man, optimism
see.
is poison.
It
sometimes.
is. It is.
Yeah,
But it
when
makes
you've
it
lived
fun.
it, it does make it
Makes
fun.
it fun.
Yeah. Well, hey man, thanks for joining the episode. This has been super fun. Time flew by. I think we covered a lot. Talked about what you're doing in your business day to day with Castle Rock, the family business that's just provided a lot of value in that industry here in town for a long time, and has made it, you know, and is going to continue to make it because it's got great people, got a great team. We talked about Clarksville Business Allies and that, and, you know, told people how to get connected to that. I think you can just, you know, is there a group on social media that they can get connected to?
There's a website.
Yeah.
You can come out. Like whatever's best for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then we got to chat about some personal stuff too, and you know, find good value
This
there.
was a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for taking the time. Well, thank you for making it to the end of this episode. We hope that you found some value with my guest today, Brandon Ferguson. Check him out online, connect with him and on a different platform or something. Feel free to reach out to him for some advice whenever that time comes around for you. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit add to content, whatever you got to do. Leave a review for Clarksville Vibe the Podcast so you know that you can get the content as soon as it releases. Thanks so much. We'll catch you next time.